how can you think about anything else when you see mass graves, also mass graves not really reported in the media here, when you see so many corpses, and there they are day after day after day. It's ongoing. You see the corpses of women and children in apartment buildings that have been blown to pieces. And you think, I don't know, this just can't possibly be right. It's not an atrocity in the past. It's an atrocity happening under our noses right now. My name is Bruce Robbins, and I teach at Columbia University. What I saw when I visited the encampment at Columbia was an extremely well-organized bunch of students who were doing absolutely everything in their power to display an image of peaceful demonstration and non-violence. They did not want to disturb things. They didn't want to break things. They didn't want to threaten or intimidate anybody. I'm not sure at their age that I would have been so under control as they were. People have had access to the visuals of the violence in Gaza via social media without any gatekeepers, without the editing interference of the New York Times and CNN and so on and so forth. The fact that the mainstream media have covered this so badly, I think, fuels the outrage, because it's a little bit like the fact that there's a Democratic president in office. This is clearly the expression of bipartisan policy, a long tradition of bipartisan agreement. We stand with Israel. Everybody seems to stand with Israel, except, the young people look at their social media feed and they realize that we shouldn't be standing with Israel in this way. The demonstrations that started at Columbia and the encampment seem to have inspired people around the country and around the world. It's really a kind of conflagration, and it's very exciting for me because I care very much about the situation of people in Gaza and in Palestine in general. The people on the board of trustees, who I assume are giving the instructions to our president, are very intimately connected with Wall Street. There's a lot of investment in intelligence, in military hardware. It's a thing about this issue that if you ask for transparency on this issue, which can seem like a small issue given all the injustice in the world, I think it sheds an extraordinary light on the way things are run in general. And that's one of the many inspiring things for me about focusing on Gaza. Let's see where the investments go. Let's see who's profiting. If you see where the investments go, you see who's profiting from this. An awful lot of other things about the system are going to become clear. And in that sense, I think it has the potential to go quite far.
Trying to reconcile the free speech rights of those who wanted to protest and the rights of Jewish students to be in an environment free of discrimination and harassment has been the central challenge on our campus and numerous others across the country.
I began to feel that something was radically wrong at Columbia after the Hamas attacks of October 7th, when a task force on anti-Semitism was founded, and the three co-chairs were all very, very strong Zionists. And in the letter that they had written, they had used 66 words to describe the violence committed by Hamas, and zero words, I counted, 0 words to describe the violence that was being perpetrated by the Israeli military. So it seemed that the university had taken sides. It was claiming to be neutral and impartial. It clearly was not being neutral and impartial.
On my watch, faculty who make remarks that cross the line in terms of anti-Semitism, there will be consequences for them.
As a Jew, I was astonished that the administration was telling me and Jewish Voice for Peace what was anti-Semitism. I mean, really, that's something that I have personal experience of it. I can talk about anti-Semitism a lot better than the president of my university can. Clearly something was wrong, and there were lots of evidence of Islamophobia on the Columbia campus, which was at least as real as any anti-Semitism that the Jewish students on campus were complaining about, and the university was not interested in protecting students from Islamophobia. There was no balance, there was no impartiality. There are things which really do imperil the safety of students on campus, and they shouldn't be allowed on campus. For example, genocidal speech. There should be no place for genocidal speech on campus. However, there hasn't been any genocidal speech on the Columbia campus that I've heard, and certainly Intifada doesn't represent genocidal speech. And I think neither does From the River to the Sea. I look at the violence in Gaza, the violence perpetrated by the Israeli military, the violence supported by the American government, and I think this should not be happening. And people all around the country seem to have decided that, young people in particular, but not just young people, and now around the world.